Alright, again, the idea was that we go through number 10, create this project named Tina's Custom Tees. It's funny, this is the first time I wanted to see how the author did it. It's honest to goodness, this is the first time this semester I even looked. So I looked at the author's Chapter 12 programming exercises, and I noticed she doesn't have it in there. Then I realized that I've got the old version of the book. I don't have this version. I've got the 2015 version. She must have rewritten it since then. All right. So, again, I gave you this, which basically was the same thing, and then I gave you, this is just how I decided to do it. It's not the only way that it could have been done. All right. So, show you real quickly what I did here. So here it is. Again, if you look here, this right here, this whole thing, I'm trying to draw a square around, right here, that's a group box. Inside of that group box are 1, 2, 3 labels, and 1, 2, 3 more group boxes. Inside of each of the inner group boxes are 3 radio buttons. All right. You all know by now, because we went over this last semester, that with radio buttons, only one of these can be selected at a time. And when you select any one, whatever was there gets unselected. All right, if one was previously selected. Also, if you look on here, notice I went to red. I just grabbed the first one. But there is a property called checked. So if I set it to false, it's pretty obvious right away what happened. All right. But I wanted to make sure that when you started to run the program, everything was checked. All right. Again, I could have chosen any combination here, but that's the one I chose. The other thing, just to show you real quickly, that I did was with this month calendar, I set it up. To me, it didn't make sense that you should be able to order something from last month. Do you understand what I'm saying? That in other words, the calendar only went from today onward. It may show other things, but it won't allow you to go back and actually make an order of t-shirts from a date that's already passed. That didn't make any sense to me. All right. Now, hopefully you realize how simple these were. For instance, and this is the code. All right. So literally all you have to do, for example, for the red button is to say this dot back color equals system dot drawing dot color dot red. That's it. And that was in your book. And then I just made it red, white, and blue. So then for the white one, this dot back color equals system dot drawing dot color dot white for the white one, and for the blue one, this dot back color equals system dot drawing dot color dot blue. And what you'll notice is then when I run this, if I click the red one, already is, the white one, the blue one, back to the red one, etc. I could have changed everything. I didn't realize until after I did it that I didn't change these, and I just left them the way they were. My question for you, though, does everybody understand the correlation between clicking one of these buttons and changing the back color? Does that make sense? All right. And again, you could look at this and you could say, yeah, I get it. But when I look at your code, or I look at your design here, it's kind of stupid in that, well, first of all, you've only got 3 sizes. All right. They said 4 in the book. I could have made it 4. I kind of like the symmetrical way that it looks right now. That's why I left it at 3. All right. And they said each one should have a different price. That's why I said $8 for a small, $10 for a medium, $12 for a large. All right. Again, those are just arbitrary things that I put in there. And for the number ordered, I said you could either order 1 of them, 10 of them, or 100 of them. This could have been implemented in a lot of other ways. All right. Rather than using radio buttons like this, all right, we could have used a list box that had a bunch more options. Could have used a drop down. You know, we literally could have listed all the numbers from 1 to 100. We could have just made it a text box. So there's a lot of different ways that this could be done. You're all smart people in here. You all realize the combinations that if I order one small, it's $8. If I order one medium, it's $10. One large, it's $12, etc. So in other words, the math that was in here was simple. All right. One thing I wanted to make sure, if you look up on the screen, was when you first ran the program, I wanted there to be values in here. All right. Anybody have any idea how I can make sure that when I first run a program, there are values in there, what I did? I'll show you, but do you have any idea what I did? Well, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, it automatically puts them in. But how did I do that is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's in the form, you're close. It's in the form load event. So when you look in here, what I did was I double-clicked on an empty part of the form, and I said, hey, when you first start to run this program, set the back color to red, set the number ordered to 1, set the cost per shirt to the small cost, and I did put in 3 constants in here. Small cost per shirt, $8. Medium cost per shirt, $10. Large cost per shirt, $12. All right? And then I said, again, when you started to run the program, just set those things accordingly. These 3 here. That's it. All right? And then call calculate totals. Calculate totals was basically the only thing I had to create. That was the only user, I believe it's the only user-defined method. Not very big. The number ordered times the cost per shirt. All right. Then I took that total cost and I put that into the I think it was the second text box. All right. And then in the other one, I said T-shirt delivery date, and I added to it, basically what it said was, take the current date, add 3 days to it, and put it in as a short date. In other words, I didn't need the time and all that other stuff in there. All right? And then, as I mentioned to you before, in this monthly calendar thing that you see right here, all right, what did I do? Well, this right here made sure that line, putting that date time now for a min date, all right, that says make sure that the minimum date that's in there is today's date. All right. And then that T-shirt delivery date, basically now that I look at this, I guess I probably didn't need this. What I should have done really right there is that when you change this, I should have called this. Everybody see what I'm talking about? I've got the same code here and here. There was no reason to replicate that code. What I could have done, whenever this changed, I could have just come down here and said, calculate totals. That would have been a cleaner way of doing it than the way that I did it. All right. So taking it from the top then, just to show you all my code. All right. The only 2 using statements I needed were system and system.windows.forms. This one you normally have in there if you've got a GUI application. This is the same thing. I literally copied this, and that's what you got in here. That's literally the same thing. So again, I created 3 constants. One that had my small cost per shirt, one that had my medium cost per shirt, one that had my large cost per shirt. Again, we've talked about this many times before. Created those constants for 2 reasons. Number 1, over time, the cost per shirt is going to change. You know that that's going to happen. Number 2, it makes the code a little bit more human readable so that if someone looks at it who doesn't understand C#, they can probably look at least some of the code in there and figure out what's happening. Does all that make sense? Questions on any of that? All right. I mean, literally, I could have just said times 8 times 10 and times 12. All right. My variables, so these were my global constants. I had 3 global variables. I made them global because I used them in more than one method. Again, if I didn't want to do that, I could have made them local and just passed them. All right, we've talked about passing stuff from routine to routine. You know, we're basically, we're past that point, so to speak. So the number ordered, the cost per shirt, and the total cost. Again, you know already that the total cost is the number ordered times the cost per shirt. We're not worrying here about tax. All right? We could do that if we wanted to. The problem is, if you look at it, you know, that sometimes with companies, maybe you've gone through this, maybe you haven't, but sometimes with companies, if you buy stuff online, they use the tax rate of the state you're in. Other times, they use the tax rate of the state they're in. And as you can probably guess, if you've got an online company and they have to regulate their taxation system based on the individual state, and if they sell all over the world based on that country, it's much harder than to just have one tax rate. All right? So again, then we've got the 3 things that are in here, and they showed you exactly how to do this in the book. So this was, you know, and notice I tried to give them decent names. So radio button color red. I don't know why that color is in there. Should have just been red, but that's fine. All right, radio button white and radio button blue. Again, I'm not sure why I didn't remove that color, but I didn't. All right, so this dot back color equals system dot drawing dot color in either red or white or blue. Again, that takes care of when I click any of those buttons that are right here that I'm putting my mouse over, that will make sure that the background color changes to either red or white or blue. Any questions on anything thus far? Anything? Anything that doesn't make sense? I mean, one of the reasons I picked this one is it used some of the stuff that's in here, but also it seemed pretty intuitive, all right, as far as a program to give you. All right, then the next code that you see right here, that's the code that handles one of these 3 buttons right here, right there. So that says either I chose a small or a medium or a large. So if it's a small, what am I doing? All I'm saying is the cost per shirt is a small cost per shirt, then call calculate totals. If it's a medium, the cost per shirt is a medium cost per shirt, and call calculate totals. If it's a large, the cost per shirt is a large cost per shirt, and call calculate totals. Does all that make sense? Any questions on that? Again, since we're going over this as a class, and since we are not going to have a written test on this, I'm going to make this one worth 50 points, kind of combine it. All right, so it's basically double what a homework would normally be worth. All right, then the last ones that are in here, those are these 3 check boxes right here, which I just called radio button 1, radio button 10, and radio button 100. And those are pretty simple too. I set the number ordered equal to 1, or the number ordered equal to 10, or the number ordered equal to 100. Notice that anytime I change anything in either, look on the screen please, anytime I change one of these 3 buttons or one of these 3 buttons, I call calculate totals. I do not call calculate totals if I click one of those buttons, because I haven't changed anything but the background color. Right? And again, if you say, well, I got mine to work and I didn't do it like yours, that's good. All right? There's a lot of different ways that this could be done. All right, so again, all that's left here first are these two methods. That, again, is the form load, where I set the background color to red, I set the number order to 1, I set the cost per shirt equal to small. So in other words, when you start out, make it red and have all those buttons checked, clicked, showing, whatever you want to say. And then when you get done, call calculate totals. And again, calculate totals simply, total cost is the number ordered times the cost per shirt. Take that total cost, that line right there, line 107, that's going to put that total into here, right there. Then we've got t-shirt delivery date equals this, and that one, lines 108 and 109, which are one line of code that I put over two lines, that's going to put that delivery date right here. Finally, again, the last thing is this is that month calendar, all right, and the date changed. So again, I'm setting the minimum date to the current date. You may or may not be aware of this. I wasn't until I just looked at it. If you don't do that, I believe the minimum date is January 1st, 1753. So, you know, approximately what, 266 years ago or something like that? I don't know where they came up with that number. Somebody did. So you turning in this program, it will be due by Friday. Anybody need any other part of the program explained? So again, just running it one last time and going over it. Notice I'll change it to blue. All right. I'll change it to $10 each, and I'll buy 100. And you'll notice that becomes 1,000. And the delivery date is 3 days from today, which is the 19th. So 3 days from today would be the 22nd. After I did this, I realized I could have played with the fonts and made those bigger, etc. But I just left it the way it was. All right, any other questions? All right, then I'm going to stop this. And then if you have your book, please open it to the beginning of Chapter 13. We're going to go over that now. When we get done going over Chapter 13, we're going to do the review questions. That should take us till somewhere between 10 and 10:30. And after that, you'll have the last hour plus to finish this up or to do whatever. All right? So, we stop this run.